Can we jump it?
No, it's not happening.
Probably not. Oh. Woo, it's cold. It's November 2021, and I recently ran the Beav 50K Trail Race in Campbellville, Ontario, hosted by Happy Trails Racing. In the past, this race has had some pretty extreme weather, but this year it looked like Mother Nature was going to cooperate. The forecast leading up to the race was actually great, but no. Instead, Mother Nature sent a beaver to build a dam and flood part of the course. Well played. Now, prior to the race, I couldn't help but wonder why they named this race the Beav. It just didn't seem to make sense. It was such a random name. Race director Jeff Rowthorne and his crew at Happy Trails Racing host a bunch of other events that have names that actually make sense. Races like Stride Inside, where you run around a track inside. Tally in the Valley, you run a bunch of loops in a valley. Sunburn Solstice, which takes place on the summer solstice. And then you've got the Beav, which just makes me think of, well, the Beav. Which actually isn't too much of a stretch because there is a trail located inside the same conservation area called Wally and the Beav. But I really don't think they named this race after some little 1950s instigator of chaos. So it looks like they just named it after some random creature. But if you're gonna do that, why not pick something more badass? Something like a shark, or a murder hornet, or a bantha. Now there is a rumor floating around out there that this race was originally called the Bear, but Jeff's handwriting was so poor that everyone thought the letter R was a V, so he just went with it. However, it wasn't until after I did some in-depth investigative research, and after reading the first sentence of the race description on the website, that I discovered the Beav was actually named after one of the trails on the course, the Beaver Dam Trail. I guess that makes sense. Now let's go see what this race is all about. Hilton Falls Conservation Area is located about 45 minutes west of Toronto. For me, this is perfect. About 30 minutes from home, a 9 a.m. start time. This was turning out to be my favorite race already. It was a little cool when I arrived. The temperature was just above freezing with frost everywhere. I was running a little behind, so I headed over to get checked in. Just got my bib all checked in. Starts in about 15 minutes, time to get changed. The race offers 3 different distances, 10K, 25K, and 50K. The 50K started at 9 a.m., followed by the 10K at 9:30 a.m., and the 25K had the option to start at 7:30 a.m. or at 1 p.m. This allowed the 25K runners to select an appropriate start time based on their pooping schedule. I'm just heading to the pre-race meeting, which I'm late for. The race starts in a couple minutes. And it's gonna be a little chilly. It's about 1 degree right now. It's going up to about 9 degrees later on, but the course is pretty wet. Apparently a beaver built a dam which diverted a creek across part of the course, so it's gonna be pretty wet. We'll see how it goes today. The pre-race meeting was probably pretty good. I don't know, I missed it. But everyone appeared happy and informed, so we were good to go. As is common in a lot of races, the course quickly moves to a single track and we wind up in a conga line for the first few kilometers. I ran into Stefan, who I hadn't seen in a few years, and we ended up sticking together for the first loop. Morning. Water?
Electrolyte.
These are electrolytes?
Electrolyte, yeah.
Perfect. I'll take this with me. Thank you. This way. It was just after the 8K aid station where we would experience the beaver's handiwork. It was about 50 feet or so of very cold water. Then we head over a gravel culvert, followed by another 50 feet of water. We then head out to the turnaround, and as soon as our feet have dried off, we're right back in the water. And they were just drying out too. Thank you. Thanks.
We're past the 25K turnaround. My shoes are full of gravel.
It was now time to take off my outer layer, but I should have worn something more breathable, like maybe a Christmas-themed three-piece suit? Or maybe not. With no ventilation, my thin long sleeve was drenched with sweat, so I'd be very cold for the next little while. I hooked up with Stefan again. Apparently it takes me just as long to empty my shoes as it takes him to empty his bowels. So we started loop 2 together, but with his newfound power to weight ratio, he took off pretty soon. Eventually I started to warm up, but as soon as I did, the guy on the bike was just staring at the water, rethinking his Saturday. Then it was out to the turnaround again, and back to the water for the fourth and last time.
Good job, guys.
You too, man. Hey, you got a beeline. I like that beeline.
Good job, bud.
We were now hitting a lot of oncoming traffic from the 25K runners who started at 1 p.m. Soon we'd be getting passed by the 25K leaders as well on their way back.
Just over 40K in now, not much farther to go. The first loop I ran way too fast, and I knew I was. I ran it with Stefan, a runner I hadn't seen in a while. He was running faster than I was, but I stuck with him for the loop, and that was a bad idea. My toes keep cramping up, and the cold creek we had to walk through is not helping. I just kicked the flag down the hill. I'll put it back. Okay.
Early in loop 2, when things started sucking, I set myself an arbitrary time goal, as I often do in a race. I just wanted to finish in under 6 hours. But now that I was nearing the end, I was cutting it close.
Once in a while an aid station has beer, pretty rare, but
We have water, tailwind.
I'm almost there. Just electrolyte? No, I'm good. These ones?
Yeah.
Thank you. That guy that just flew by, I hope he was doing 25K.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Where am I going?
That way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Almost there. Feeling good. I knocked off that last 5K pretty quickly. And coming up on the finish in the next 5 minutes or so. Hey, go ahead, man. All the leaders in the 25K race are finishing now and blowing right past us. Almost there. Let's go. Maybe not. Thank you. Well, that's done. The weather turned out great. It was +1 this morning, but it warmed up to about 9 degrees this afternoon, so that was good. First loop I went way too fast, which made the second loop painful, but I got her done. That was a fun race. I'll probably come back and do it again. It's a nice end of season race in November. There's not many others going on, so nice little finish to the season.
So, a few of my observations about this race. The course design was fantastic. It was basically a 25K out and back, but they separated the outward and inward bound on many occasions so we weren't constantly running against each other. That way, even though you're heading out and coming back, you're basically running a different course on the way out and the way back with different sections. Very well done. It was also a very well marked course. You'd have to be a moron to go off course here. So yes, I did go off course once. The course was totally dry, other than the beaver shenanigans, but there was nothing you could do about that. The first time we got to the flood, we tried to go around it, but that was impossible. Other people took off their shoes, or I spoke to a few people who wore waterproof shoes, but that's like wearing hip waders to go scuba diving, not gonna help you. There were some technical rolling sections, but they were short. It was mostly runnable, non-technical trails with no large hills or significant climbs. The lowest point to the highest point of the course was only about 60 meters. Or for all my American friends, that's 60 meters. Learn it. The aid stations were great. They were basically tables full of leftover Halloween candy and chips, which is really all you need in a 50K.
Chips. Lots of chips.
Later in the race, they also served grilled cheese and s'mores if you wanted something more solid. One other thing to point out about this race is it had the best online participant guide I'd ever seen. It contained everything you need to know about the race. It even included a fun glossary of terms for people new to trail running. Very well done. The only negative thing I could possibly say about this race is they gotta do something about that f***ing beaver. Well, thanks for watching. Maybe I'll see some of you next year at the Murder Hornet, or the Beav, or whatever they decide to call it. Now get lost.